Rodney, hello. It's so good to
Hello.
see you again.
So good to see you too. I can't believe it. It's been 9 years or
At
so, right?
least
Yeah.
since we were last in this room chatting.
hmm
That time we were chatting about Phantom. Now we're going to chat about Aladdin.
Yes.
Because you're back in Aladdin and all is right with the world.
The balance has been restored, absolutely.
So I was thinking, you made your Broadway debut in Aladdin, and now you're back. And I was wondering what it was like to go back into the New Amsterdam Theater for the first time when you were returning.
I mean, it's so remarkable, and I feel like I'm cognizant of this every time I walk on that stage. This is the stage where all my dreams came true, quite literally. I had been a Broadway fan, I still am, a musical theater enthusiast. Aladdin is such a beautiful and magical show, as you know, and to get to step into these shoes, wear the fez again. So many years have passed, my life has changed, but I still am that, Broadway fan, this Aladdin fan. And so it's really, really special.
You're that kid.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about how your dreams came true because
Yes.
it's a big deal. And it happened on stage at the New Amsterdam Theater
That's exactly
that
right.
you proposed to your wife, Sonia.
Yes,
We got to hear the story.
absolutely. So I mean, this is a full circle moment on so many levels, and I should put a little context in that we had met in the production of Aladdin in Mexico City, the identical Broadway production, just in Spanish.
Right.
And we met and became fast friends. Fast forward to we go out, we're dating. She goes on the national tour of Aladdin, and I get to play the groupie and I get to visit her in all sorts of places. She said, "It's not like I'm going to Alaska, honey. It's going to be okay." Cut to I visit her in Anchorage, Alaska on the national tour of Aladdin. And then I believe it had to have been maybe the summer after that tour. I was doing a show in the Hamptons. It was master class, as a matter of fact, at Bay Street Theater. We hadn't seen each other for a couple months. And so I said, "Hey, honey, wouldn't it be cool if we did a backstage tour at the New Amsterdam Theater? We're Aladdin on
And
Broadway."
how did you finagle this?
I mean,
I know you know people, right?
yes, by the grace of God, a little bit of luck, and a couple of emails later, they gave me special access. It was Monday, it was a dark day, but they had the lights on and everything for us.
You know those union guys had to come turn on the lights
I
for you.
mean, yes, very, very special. I felt very privileged. I had a friend of ours, dear friend, Angelo Soriano, who is in the ensemble of Aladdin as a swing, happens to be an amazing photographer. I said, what about you just hide in the audience? And so Sonia and I walk on stage for what she thinks is a backstage tour, and I took the video and my voice just gets higher and higher and higher as I get more nervous. And I said, "Honey, stand on stage, arms out. It's not terribly, different for us to take pictures of each other, so it was totally okay." I said, "Okay, honey, I'm gonna take pictures. Don't turn around. Don't turn around." And then I get on my knee and I say, "Mi
I'm
amor,
getting
will you marry
verklempt.
me?"
It's such a beautiful story, and it's so amazing to me that you made your Broadway debut in this show. You met your wife doing this show, and now you're back with this
Yes,
show. It's just
absolutely.
amazing. And when I think about your start, you were an ensemble track player. We talked about last time we talked about the cartography. That's like
Ah,
choreography with
yes.
carts.
Oh, yes.
And now you're the lead.
Yeah.
And I know you understudied the role, but it must mean something to you to really be the leader of the company.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a beautiful responsibility that I don't take lightly. In so many ways, that there's a new, with a few notable exceptions, it's a new cast and a lot of new people. And so, what does that mean to be, and alongside my great co-stars, Caleb as the genie and Sonia as Jasmine, we get to be somewhat at the helm of this thing, but really, it really is a wonderful family. And I remember from being in the ensemble, and I still remark on it today, the ensemble creates the environment and the magic and invites the people into the story. We're all at the helm of this ship. So it's really, really special.
When you were an ensemble player and an understudy, you never knew when you were going to go on, right? That's
right.
part of the job. I read that your mom would run lines with you over Skype. So now I've got to hear about your mom. And I know she's extremely proud of her boy.
Yes,
But I want to know, you have a very supportive family that let
really
you
do.
pursue this dream. And I want to know how that all worked out.
Her Jafar is Tony Award winning, I think. It's really
Oh, I need to
exquisite.
see that.
Oh my gosh. And she still, to this day, helps me with self-tapes. And I'm like, you don't have to do the voice. We just have to say the lines. But she's really awesome and so into it. She sang in her church choir and she has a beautiful voice. And it was something that she really introduced me to musical theater by the way of the movie musical. So my love for the classics and, the Rodgers and Hammersteins and the Lerner and Loews is directly because of my mom introducing me to the movie musical. And so I credit her with all of that. And both of my parents, my dad and my mom, have been so supportive and have believed in me even when I don't believe in myself and have continually been there to support me. So I constantly say, because it's true, they are the reason that I'm here, and they're the reason that they've kept pushing me, but motivating me, encouraging me, or allowing me to have the space to put me through these, musical theater programs or choir things or singing things when we were in all kinds of misguided productions, and now we're here. This is wild and crazy.
How many times have they seen Aladdin?
More than they ought. More than, well, gosh, it's probably in the 30s, I'd
No
venture to
way.
guess, between, Aladdin in 2015 when I started, the Mexico City production, the national tour when we went to visit my wife Sonia, and now currently I think it's well into the 30s.
So take me back to when you were a little kid, learning about musicals through movies. A lot of people start that way. I mean, not everyone can come or see a national tour. Um, what was it? What was the show that sparked this for you? And also, a lot of kids will see, let's say, a movie, even if they see the animated version of Aladdin, and then they move on to something else. But this passion burned bright for you.
It really did. I think I knew early on that I can really love a movie and love a book, but I could fall in love with a musical, and I still feel that today. Something about just the arc of emotion that the music can bring to a story. I don't know why. It really is transcendent, and it's all the things that I love. And plus, I think me being a natural ham as a kid was attracted to being applauded at, and I think that's the disease that a lot of actors still have, myself included. That I think it really attracted me to just be so into all these stories. They can transport you to all these worlds. I remember watching the two-part VHS Fiddler on the Roof, and I thought, wow, this transports you to
And you were in
Anatevka, and
Mexico.
I'm in Mexico, no connection to pre-revolutionary Russia, and yet absolutely in love in that story of tradition, and I'm 10 years old or whatever, and being like, oh yeah, I can relate to this milkman father of five.
Sure.
Yeah, naturally.
10-year-old in Mexico feels
Yes,
the Tevye love.
absolutely. Absolutely. And then I got to play Tevye in my high school's production, Mexican high school's production, A Fiddler on the Roof. And I was pretty remarkable.
That's amazing. I want to see that VHS tape. That's what I want
my
to
mom
see.
can unearth it, I'm sure.
So tell me what your path was, because I think that this is actually, there are a lot of kids out there that get the bug and get excited, maybe join a local theater, but don't pursue it as doggedly as you did. So tell me about what kept you going, and maybe what was, because last time I talked to you, we talked about, you told me about, like, when you got the role in Phantom, you had gone to a course call. It wasn't a principal call. And that takes a lot. And that means, like, you're getting up early, you're standing in line sometimes. Tell me about how you found your motivation to do stuff like that.
Well, that's a great question, because I think back to those times. Really, it's such a mix of, certainly the passion was there, and by the grace of God I had done a lot of singing things, but for a lot of it I didn't have official training. I remember getting rejected from no exception, every musical theater program, every college that I applied to study musical theater, So I thought, well, that's a pretty good sign that this is not the path for me. But something, somewhere along the lines, I wanted to try my luck at it. I remember the next summer, after having been rejected from the programs, I re-auditioned for Cap 21. They said yes. So I was like, okay, all in. And
Which
I
is like a
remember, which is,
conservatory.
yes, I should say it's a conservatory here in New York City. And I I took it upon myself to just soak up all the information I could, and I really, really was so hungry for it. And so I think, along with that hunger, that kept me into going to the EPAs and the ECCs, and that's the reason why I got Aladdin and Phantom. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I went to an EPA for
Equity
Aladdin.
principal
Yes,
call.
that's
Did I
exactly
get it
right.
right?
Equity principal audition for Aladdin, and I did not know that at the time they were doing Something Rotten. So Casey Nicola, our wonderful director, took a couple of the actors to be in that production, and it just so happened that there was an Aladdin understudy vacancy that I did not know about. And then one callback led to another, and I got to make my Broadway debut, and all my wildest dreams could finally be in this culmination. It was a wild and crazy experience. And the same logic applied to the Phantom call. I went to an ECC or an EPA, Equity Principal Audition, or Equity Chorus call. One callback led to another, and then I got to be in a wildly, thematically, vocally, and otherworldly different piece of theater.
Yeah. Talk about a whole new world. Those are very different
Truly,
worlds.
absolutely.
When I think about leading players on Broadway, they're not all triple threats, but Aladdin truly is. It's a physical role, and you have to sing beautifully, you have to act beautifully. I want to know what you do day to day to keep yourself fit mentally, physically, and emotionally, and everything. Because your day does, everyone says, like, oh, actors, they start their day at the end of the day. That is not true. It's like being an athlete, I think. So tell me about what it is. I mean, you have to wear that vest. Guys, there's a lot that you have to think about during your day.
Yeah.
And I want to hear about how you keep in shape for it in every way.
Absolutely. Yes. I feel it plays into my strengths of being a grumpy old man when I'm not on stage. And I sleep in and I drink my tea. And I do tend to be perhaps too cognizant sometimes about the voice. But I think what I've learned is that when your body is healthy, a lot of the other things fall into place. And by body, I sometimes and oftentimes I don't just mean the physical body. I mean the mental, the spiritual, emotional body. Sometimes I think as actors we are tasked with being very vulnerable, but also having a thick skin. And I think a lot of those things you develop and learn as you go. And there's a lot of pragmatic things certainly that I do, but I think the general sense is, gosh, if I'm in, a good place emotionally, mentally, physically, I can certainly go to the gym and I can certainly drink my tea. And it also helps that we're in a very beautiful and happy show and happy building. It's not a chore to go to work, and I mean that seriously. I think 8 shows a week is certainly hard work, but this is exactly the work that I prayed about and wanted to do for so long. And we're in a beautiful company, and everybody genuinely gets along, and we get to play together and discover new things. A lot of times before the show we say, hey, let's be curious. And I think a lot of those things it's easy to lose sight of when you do a show for so many years and so many repetitions of the same lines. But if you can lock eyes with another actor and play, that it's a brand new show for everybody.
Okay, this seems off topic, but I'm just curious. Do you still surf?
I do. I miss surfing a lot.
I mean,
Whenever I get
you're
the
a
chance
West
to.
Coast person in many
Yes,
ways, right?
yes, absolutely. I was born in Southern California. My father was a surfer. The reason we went to Mexico and the family business is in Mexico was because my dad had discovered this wave in Sayulita, Mexico on a road trip. And so that's where we set up shop effectively. And I grew up there since the age of 4. And so I grew up surfing. I grew up on the nose of my dad's board, and we would both surf in tandem. And then I would get another little board attached to a leash, and then I'd get my own board, and my dad would push me into the waves. And so certainly that's an activity that we both still to this day get to share together. And it's just one of the many, many blessings in my life. and being on the ocean is just, there's something very, very transcendent and peaceful about that too. Peaceful when it's not super scary and there's, a head-high wave crashing on you. But whenever I get the chance, certainly whenever I go back to Mexico, I get to do it.
Not a lot of opportunity here in New York City, though.
When I felt really cool when I was at Phantom, I got to go to Rockaway, rent a surfboard,
wow.
surf by day, and then play Raoul in Phantom of the Opera by night. And I felt like the coolest kid on the block.
No one else in that theater did that.
I know.
That was singular for you. Singular.
I believe so.
And then the other thing I wanted to ask you about was, when did you first see Aladdin? I know you saw the movie, everyone saw the movie, but when did you first see the show?
When I first saw the show, this is actually a great story because I stood in line for rush tickets. It had to have been 2014, probably towards the end of 2014. It was a winter day right on 42nd Street. It was either Rush or the Lotto. And I scored tickets to the very last row in the balcony. And I got to see the original cast of Aladdin. And
Had you auditioned for it at that point?
No.
You just were like, I need to see a good show. I want to go see Aladdin.
Yeah, I mean, Aladdin was, the hit. It had just started its run. I said, I want to see what all the fuss is about. And even from the very last row, when Friend Like Me happened, gosh, it seemed like a 2-minute standing ovation. And I was certainly a big part of that too. And it was wonderful and remarkable. And that's a great memory. And I actually remember calling my mom and saying, I really want to do this. I forget exactly the words she could tell you, but it was something as like, I bet I can do that. I want to be in the show. Something like that.
I hope you think about the person in the back of the balcony when you're on stage sometimes.
I certainly do. Without fail, every time that I exit through the stage door, without exception, there are people that say, this is my very first Broadway show. Mm-hmm. This is my first Broadway show in many, many years. And I always say, thank you for making it Aladdin. Thank you for coming today. And then we get to start a conversation. But I remember that was me at some point. And that was me also getting to see Aladdin. It was just a life-changing experience in so many ways.
Why do you think people still flock to Aladdin? It's still a blockbuster. It's been around for a long time now.
Yeah. I really think it has something to do with certainly the magic and certainly the production. I always say, if you're coming to New York, as a lot of visitors come to New York from all over the world and want to see a Broadway show, they really get served a full course meal with Aladdin because you fall in love. There's a magic carpet, there's magic, there's tap dancing. This is Broadway at its best. And there's something for everybody. You get chased with swords, certainly there's high octane. I think Aladdin, it starts at such a high note with Arabian Nights. I think it's an amazing opening number, one of the best. And then it just keeps going from there. It's not like there's dips, it keeps very fast paced. It's a wonderful, energetic, and lovely magical production. I think there's something for everybody. So even when we get to see rehearsals, sometimes we lose sight of it when we're in it, but when we get to see rehearsals, wow, this is the real deal, and it's something that all of us still feel very proud about.
You're right. It is such an energetic show. So I want to know how you come down off the show when you're going home. How do you gather yourself together and like go to sleep? I don't have any idea how you do that. I would be wired for hours.
There is nothing like walking out of the stage door and then getting on the 2 train that just transforms
Just turns
your
you right
reality.
back into a person.
Exactly. It happens to be that the subway station isn't too far from Aladdin, so I'll walk out of the stage door and I'll be with whoever is visiting, and maybe I get to sign their playbill and take a picture. I hang a left, and I'm deep in the throes of New York City again, and that's very, overstimulating in its own way. But then you're right back to being a New Yorker, and that's also exactly reality. And then we get to go home to Brooklyn, and then that's a different reality as well. I get to crack open the crock pot, maybe see what there is for dinner, and then that's a great way to calm down. And then plus, we stay up longer than we ought because we get the luxury of sleeping in, which I'm a very big fan of.
That's the beauty of the Broadway schedule, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It really is.
Well, thank you for joining me, Rodney. It's great to see you again.
Thank you so much. This is a pleasure.